Hey, Cleaning Nation, Mike Campion with Grow My Cleaning Company here with the lovely Jenell Newell. I love having this young woman and Suzanne on the podcast because they are really the front lines with our clients, right? So I handle most of the what to do and how to do it, right? Which is what everyone thinks that they need. And I don't want to say is relatively simple. It's not easy, but it's oftentimes pretty simple. We're pretty good at sorting out what to do and when to do it and how to do it and all that good stuff. Where things get tricky is where the lovely Suzanne and Jenell come in, which is I know what to do and I know how to do it, yet I'm not doing it. I know all about the evils of sugar and carbs, and yet here I am eating sugar and carbs. I know that I should move my body and lift weights, and yet here I am again on the couch with the sugar and carbs. So we found there's a whole industry on how to lose weight that's informational. And yet we found without behavioral change, nothing's going to happen. So that's why I love having them on. Because again, it's kind of one of those things where everyone wants to what to do and how to do it because it's fun. But to actually get change in your business and your life in any aspect, it takes, funny thing about change is it requires change. And people want to do that. So what we're going to talk about today is so funny because before we started recording, I asked Jenell, like, hey, what do you think about this topic? And I've not seen her head nod up and down so quickly or emphatically in the many moons I've known her. So it's something that we see both from the tactical side and the kind of belief side. So I know that it affects a lot of you guys and gals. So here's what we're talking about. Kind of the hierarchy of procrastination or not getting done what we want to get done is, I don't want to say the misnomer, but the often incorrect belief or the almost always incorrect belief of I don't have time, right? We start there, which is usually because I'm too busy running around like a chicken with my head cut off, putting out fires and I feel like I don't have enough time to install a sprinkler system. So one of the things that we do with our clients is, we give them a pretty clear do this and then this and, action step tools, or, information, action step, tools, repeat, right? So we kind of take away some of the fog of war, right? I don't know what to do. It's like, well, you only have this one thing to do and don't worry about everything else, right? But we're so ingrained or trained, unfortunately, to live in that chaos, even when the external is removed and you know exactly what to do and what steps to do. Oftentimes, because it's hard. And when I say hard, it's not like we're asking people to street fight people. Like it's just different than what they're used to doing. It's uncomfortable. It's outside their comfort zone. It's probably a better explainer than it's hard because people don't like to change. And because it's often outside their comfort zone and like, oh, well, I like just cleaning things. And, I don't understand why I only make $20 an hour. It's like, yeah, well, when you start leading and making big boy and big girl decisions, you get paid big boy and big girl wages. So what happens, because once the fallacy of that I don't have enough time because the organization is actually laid out, what to do and how to do it, that draw of I don't want to do anything different gets there. And that often translates into one of two things. One, I'm going to hyper focus on what I'm comfortable doing and I want to do. So I'm good at marketing, but my marketing's rocking and I need hiring funnel, but I don't like the hiring funnel. That's why it's struggling. So I'm going to double down on the marketing. It's already doing a great job, which is the healthier of the two. Not a good idea, but healthier. The second one is I'm going to worry about all the potential boogeymen that I see are out there, existent or not. And I'm just going to ask myself a lot of questions about the things that could go wrong or might go wrong and cripple my current action because I'm going to choose to experience an infinite amount of tomorrow's fears and bad outcomes, right? They haven't happened yet, mind you. And they may or may not happen, but I'm going to think about them. And the problem is there's only one accurate thing to do right now, or a couple things, especially if you've got good training. There's only a couple things we should be working on, but there's an infinite amount of things we could be worrying about. So people just come with the goofiest stuff of, well, what about this? And it's almost a future thing that hasn't happened. And it's almost always in place of a current thing that they should be doing. And, what we want to do is, or I want to do is shake them and be like, don't worry about some god dang thing that probably will never happen and certainly not happening right now. Your cost of goods sold is 83%, man, or whatever the case may be. So hopefully I've laid out the problem clearly. Now we'll let Jenell jump in and give her perspective on how she walks our clients through, and how we can hopefully walk you through in this one to many, format, how you can recapture those thoughts and put them to work in a more effective way.
Yep. So I love this, and I call this is a real thing for a lot of people. I call it the potential, possible, maybe future, right? And so we want to solve the problems 3 steps down the road when we're really got our feet in the muck right now. We just need to take that first step. But it's real. It's so real, especially for those people who feel like they're planners, right? The people who are planners, like, okay, I've got to solve this problem now before I get there, because when I get there, I'm going to be overwhelmed with it. Thus, they bring their overwhelm into their present, and we get our feet stuck in the muck. Right? Like we're just standing in the quicksand waiting for it to sink us up to the knees when we could just take one step and be out. So I got to tell you, Mike, I've had this conversation 3 times already this week.
We're recording on Tuesday, kids. This isn't a Friday. This is Tuesday. We are young. The week is young, Jenell.
3 times. And I get it, yeah, we want to have forward thinking, right? We want to anticipate a little bit, but when it becomes overwhelming that I have to solve problems before I get there so that we don't take the action, then it's no longer helpful, right? That's no longer project planning. That's bringing the fears, the potential, possible, maybe future fears into the present in order to keep us stuck, so that, here it is, so that we actually don't have to get there, right? Because like you said, we want to keep it easy, right? Our natural tendency is to protect ourselves from the pitfalls and the alligators of business. And this is one of the ways we can protect ourselves, by getting us into this freeze situation. So what do we do with clients, right? So again, I've had this conversation 3 times already. Well, one of them is to ask yourself, am I solving a problem that I actually have right now? Right? Is this actually a problem for me right now? And if you don't have the problem right now, let's not solve it. Right? Let's put it on a piece of paper, write it down, sure, but let's shelf it, because when the time comes that you actually have that problem, then we solve that one problem. Right? But right now, it's actually not the problem. Right now, you just need to fire up that hiring funnel, right? You just need to take the first step to do the very first thing to start the hiring process. Let's not worry about having 50 people in training right now when you haven't done your first hiring funnel. Right? Let's not worry about, I know that client is gonna just be so upset with me when I go to tell them about my new pricing. Because we actually don't know what that looks like. We don't know what their responses are going to be. We don't know if they're going to say yes or no. We're just kind of making it up, and it's actually not a conversation we're in right now. We just have to go have the conversation. We just need to go raise the prices and tell them what our new pricing is to have that successful, profitable, stable, sustainable business, right? So we can shelf that fear in our mind, because that's not actually the conversation we're having. When you get to the conversation, then you can have it, right? So those are not problems actually right now. They're problems that we've created in our head. So having that question, that filter for yourself, like, wait, is this really a problem right now? Or is this something I'm anticipating? Well, okay, that's not really a problem right now. It's something I'm anticipating. So what I actually need to do is just take the first step, right?
So I've been typing some notes because what you've been saying is so good, Jenell. I want to make sure we unpack it. First thing I heard you say is something that is so blatant, and I missed it before you articulated it. It's bad enough that we engage in this bad habit of solving a bunch of problems that don't yet exist. And if we're honest, was Thomas Jefferson, someone said, I spent so much of my life in fear, most of which never even came to be, right? Like, so the overwhelming odds are they're just not going to happen. So that's bad enough. But you're absolutely right. We label it as this good thing. Like, I'm just planning. But you're planning for what you don't want, right? Because we get what we want. You focus on all the things that go wrong. Shocking. Those things tend to happen when you're just like, what if everything goes great? And I'm not saying you can just happy talk your way through things. But like Jenell said, we're going to make a distinction. If there's a real problem right now, we deal with it. We're not advocating like putting your head in the sand, but we're actually advocating the opposite. I think I would posit it's more putting your head in the sand. You're like, I want to deal with this future problem that there's no stakes at because it's not here yet than this real problem right now. So we kind of do this mental gymnastics of like, no, I'm doing a good job on planning, but we're planning for our future finances, but our current checkbook isn't balanced, right? So we use this quote unquote planning, which is really not what it is, to not do things that need to be done. So that's first. Second, we really can't solve future problems. That's an impossible thing to do. We can only worry or picture outcomes, which are typically we don't want, which actually takes us out of a problem solving mode, making us unable to solve actual problems today. And it's not just a waste of time, but it feels awful. Mike Campion here. Do you ever listen to the podcast and go, this is great information. I just wish I could actually get it implemented. And I wish I could get some help. Well, we do that. If you would like either myself or my team's help actually coming up with a plan that's specialized to you and your business, because with these podcasts, obviously we have to be very general and we can only go 20 minutes at a time. If you'd like to jump on a call with myself or my team, go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. We'll jump on a call. There's no charge. And we'll help you get some absolute clarity around exactly what to do next and how to do it. The reason we don't charge for these calls is the plan that we come up with, people want help implementing that. If that's the case, we're happy to talk about it. And if it's not, that's okay too. We're happy to just help you come up with a plan. So if you want to translate the information you're learning here into an actual plan that can change your life, give us a ring, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. Love to either myself or have one of our coaches walk you through and actually personalize the content you get here to where you're at with your business. Talk soon. So the truth is, having walked people through this, the reality brings data, and data is so much better helping you prioritize than imagination, which brings infinite, say you're a guy or gal who wants to get married. You could spend all of your time worrying about all the terrible things that could happen. And if you went online for 10 seconds, you could find 1,000 stories to build that, legs to put under that table. And you can have a real strong table and say, I don't think I want to get married anymore. Or you could find 1,000 stories of, life mates being the best thing ever. It's just what you choose to get. And then, kind of the stories that you listen to tend to be the outcome that you have, because we're story making machines and we want to prove ourselves right. So the last thing I want to give, and then I'll turn it back to Jenell, is just what that looks like in truth, or not in truth, but in a real life situation for owners of cleaning companies. Group interviews. That's one where I get quite a bit of people want coaching on. I've got my first group interview tomorrow, Mike. And I just want to do it perfect. And they've got 1,000 different questions. And I honestly tell them, having coached this conversation dozens of times, if not hundreds, I will coach you till the cows come home. You want to talk about this for an hour? Let's do it. And you might get, obviously after we've given the baseline technical, right? Here's some questions. Like, I'm not saying there's no coaching needed, but once they kind of know what the flow and how it should look, 100% of their questions are just, what if 1,000 people show up? What if someone's late? What if someone comes in with a machete? What if the restaurant's closed? Just all these insane things. And I'm like, I don't know, man. We'll just have to deal with that when it comes. And the reality is I could because there's the baseline coaching of, here's some questions, here's a flow, here's how long I should talk. Like, obviously there's some general things that we want to lay out, and we do. Above and beyond that, I could coach till the cows come home, and they're going to get 1,000,000% better by just doing a group interview. And they're like, it's just with every skill that you do. I've been on stage quite a bit. First time I was on stage was for spoke in front of an audience, pretty bad. Wish I had the video because people are like, oh my gosh, this guy's terrible. And people go, how can I do that? I'd like to get better at that skill. And I can coach and talk, and there's actual coaches that teach you how to do that. But at the end of the day, you've got to be on stage. How do you be comfortable talking in front of a microphone? Well, you got to talk in front of a microphone quite a bit. And the paradox is we're going to be bad about it, whatever it is, first before we get good. So I just want to encourage everybody. You can, without a coach, you just spin, right? It's just, let me think about all these terrible things. Or depending on who your friends are, which I guess at that time would be your coaches. If you get good friends that ask you good, helpful questions, they can kind of help you back to a place of effectiveness. Or if you've got less effective coaches that just, oh my gosh, you're right, Jenell, you should never get married. You should never do a group interview, whatever thing Jenell wants and fear she's got, we're just going to pile on. Or you can just do the thing and get firsthand experience. And, again, I'm not sure I want to get married. Well, Jenell, it's your first date. Maybe you just start there. Well, what if they're this or what if they're that? Like, what if they are? I guess we'll just deal with it. So that's not really great coaching. So that's the tactical part of just jump in, put your foot in, try it. Let's take step one. I'll give one last example. I'll let Jenell kind of fill in the blanks with her. Not the tactical stuff, more the belief side. People do it on success as well, right? Like we'll talk about what's your goal. Like, oh, I don't want to cap it. $1 billion. I want to as much as I could possibly be. And what they're really saying is, I don't want to create a clear picture of what I want because then I might be held accountable to it. So I'll say something that sounds good. I don't want to put a cap on my own success, but then we can never make a real plan. And the funny thing is, they're like, oh, I want to be in 100 locations all over the country. And you're like, well, you got 12 clients right now, and you're doing $6,200 a month, or whatever the case may be. The massive amount of information they're going to ingest, going from $6,000 a month to 26 grand a month to 100 grand a month, is so much different to think, many times they get to $1 million or 100 grand a month, making 30 grand a month. They're like, I don't know if I do want to be all that. Kind of seems like things change, right? So the closer you get to reality and you actually do a thing, you learn more, whether it's something you want or don't want. The worrying about it is just, and some people even worry about that. Well, how much taxes am I going to have to pay once I get? It's like, good Lord, man. Just you got your 9th client. Let's worry about 10 through 20 before we worry about, capital gains on the sale that you're going to make in 10 years from never. All right. I feel like I've ranted enough. Jenell, what kind of with some of the not reality, but examples I've given, how could you coach people that are just our people that are struggling with that? How do you walk them through that and kind of get them to a place of effectiveness as opposed to helplessness?
Yeah. So again, doing that kind of reset, like, is this a potential, possible, maybe future problem that you don't actually have today? And if the answer is yes, okay, great. What do you actually need to do today? Right? What is today's problem?
And for the people that are just, I'm going to advocate for the crazies out there because I've been the crazy out there. So I just want to put their voice out for the people like, yeah, but Jenell, if I let it go, it's going to get worse. Like, it's not a problem yet, but I gotta, whatever. It's like, okay, well then what can we actually solve today? We still got to take it back to like, I'm afraid of this crazy outcome. What's the real outcome? What is that outcome? What's the likelihood? What if, 20 people show up? Okay, well, let's say 20 people do show up. Then what? Well, I'd have to talk to them all. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll end in death? You think they'll trample you to death? No, you'll probably just do an interview that may be uncomfortable or uncomfortable or slightly uncomfortable or massively uncomfortable. And then everyone go home and you'll just get on with your life. Like, okay, like, what if I go on a date with this person and they're terrible? Then you'll probably just not see them again. You think they're going to stab you in the gut while you're not looking? No, you'll probably just have a bad time and it'll be a good story. Like, sorry, I'm just getting so preachy because people are like so committed to like, no, it's got to be bad. So for the people that are like, but Jenell, you don't understand. If I don't worry about it now, it's going to get worse later. So I got to worry. They think they're prepping, and it's like, is it really going to affect you today? And if not, like, okay, well, just like you said, what can we do today for the people that try and put that excuse in of, well, I got to worry about it today because it's going to get worse. Like, do you? Sorry, just.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is it, right? We have this conversation with our clients. And so I'll tell you, there's a couple of really great things about our clients. First of all, they have us, right? They have Suzanne and I in their heads talking to them all the time, asking questions like, is this really a problem I have today? Or am I solving a problem a year from now? In which case, it may not even be a problem.
So if you don't have a coach in your mind, you could ask this question to yourself. What Jenell just said. Is this a problem I really have to deal with today? If you don't have a coach to help you ask that, you got to be your own coach. Go ahead.
Right. You have to have a clear plan. It's those action steps. I need to do these things in the next 2 weeks. Well, what if I do these these things and I do my first interview and I have 150 people show up? Well, we don't actually know that, but the plan is you have to hire 2 people to get yourself out of cleaning. So you just do the steps. And if you have 150 people show up, your odds of hiring the 2 best perfect people go way up. I'm super excited for you. Right? So you have 200 people apply and nobody shows up. Well, Krista, you didn't spend your time looking at resumes for 200 people. They self-selected out. Good job. You got yourself a half an hour back. So we just have to have that really clear action plan. Like, we're just going to do this thing right now. And let's worry about the first step or the next step in this thing. Let's not shoot down the road 3 months, right? Because we're not there yet. And we'll deal with the problems. Exactly. We'll deal with the problems that we've got right now. And that little reset is so huge. And it just sounds so small and like, that's it? Yes. That's it. It's as easy as that. Just really being connected to, wait a minute, what is my monkey mind? What conversation is my monkey mind having? Is it down the road or is it here with me right now?
And I want to give you guys and gals out there an encouragement because, we obviously can only coach so many clients and there's so many more people listening to the podcast. So for those of you that are saying, well, I don't know the plan, right? Like, I don't know the plan. What if I'm going down the wrong route? That's a legitimate thing. So we'll start at the end. Our clients who have a plan, they paid, they know it's going to work. They wouldn't have invested in it if they didn't think they're going to get results. Still use fear, and I'm going to worry about a bunch of things in the future that may or may not have happened as a crutch to not take action. So if you're on your own, right? If you're kind of like, I'm just trying to figure this out. Yeah, certainly it makes sense to find a coach or find a plan or find something that works that you believe in. But even our people have some degree of faith, right? Obviously, we've got hundreds and hundreds of success stories, but there's always that fear that we all have. What if I'm the unlucky duck, right? What if I'm the one guy or gal it just doesn't work for? So they've still got fear and they've just got to go, well, still going to focus, and they've got coaching. But again, I'm trying to give you guys some tools for those of you that don't have a coach or aren't as confident in your system. You can't steer a parked car. The only way to guarantee that you're not getting different results is not doing anything different. Right. So yeah, would I advocate for you to have a coach or a plan or somebody, a mentor or somebody that you trust can help you? And yes, that's ideal. But if you're not there, at least you learn something if you go the wrong direction, right? There's still, at some point, you still have to step out in faith and do something, right? So the reason I bring that up is I don't want you to be like, well, those people have a plan and a coach, so everything's great. Nope, they still have the same fears that you have. They've got a little more tools to deal with them, a little more certainty, and a little more reason to kind of talk themselves through it. But at the end of the day, they still have to go out in faith and go, I'm going to do this thing, even if it's hard or scary. And that's the place that you're in. So obviously, if you don't have a plan, spend some time getting a plan or getting a help or creating a plan that you like. But no plan is 1,000% guaranteed. So even if with a coach or mentor, you've got a more certain plan, it's not 100%. So maybe they're at 98% certainty and you're at 78% certainty. Again, the only guarantee is if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. So please don't use, I don't have a coach or I don't have a plan first get a coach or a plan and then execute. I'd really rather, as long as nobody gets hurt, you're not lying, cheating, or stealing. I'd almost rather, from my experience, I've done better executing a bad plan. I learn so much faster than actually making a mistake than worrying about the mistake and doing nothing. So yeah, obviously, get the best plan that you can, take the best action that you can, but nothing's perfect. We all make mistakes and you just got to be ready to be like, okay, there you go. I did a group interview and God forbid 20 people showed up and I lived, or nobody showed up and I lived through that. So just give yourself permission to take away those excuses and be like, I'm just going to draw a line in the sand, take an action. We're done. Any comments to wrap it, Ms. Newell?
Nope. It really comes down to don't worry about future problems, but trust yourself that if a problem arises, you're going to fix it.
When, not even if. There will be a problem. Best
Yeah.
plan, worst plan, you're going to run into problems. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's almost always it sounds like not a very nice coachy answer, but we'll just deal with it when we get there. And it sounds like we're kind of putting it off. We're not interested. It's like, no, that's really the best answer, because you've got here's a dozen negative circumstances that could happen. What'll probably happen is none of them. And 50-50, it'll be a positive circumstance we didn't really have to worry about, or a 13th negative circumstance that you didn't think about anyway. So we're still stuck in the same, we'll deal with it when we get there. So I love that. And maybe even do a couple. What if 1,000 people show up? Then what if? Just like Jenell said, you go through like, well, I guess I'll just figure it out, won't I? Yeah. So let's just figure it out then when we have real data. And it's the thing we have to deal with right then, as opposed to preemptively now with fake data. It's just going to get in our heads. All right. I feel like Jenell and I preached probably more than we need, but just take an encouragement. Yeah. Just like Jenell said, don't worry about maybe could be future potential problems. Let's deal with the opportunities that are sitting in front of us right now, even if it's a little more work and a little more big boy, big girl action, as opposed to sitting and, daydreaming about things that could go badly or could go well. All right, Clean Nation. Hopefully that was helpful. Again, we do the best we can with this one-to-many platform. If you need some one-to-one help and some support, just give us a ring. We've got coaches. We're here to help. Lots of free content. GrowMyCleaningCompany.com. Check it out now. We'll see you there. Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it. And we sure appreciate your time and attention.